Welcome to this in-house faculty development program. A special welcome to Mr. Stan Lobo also, who is with us today as an observer. I'd request all of you to kindly close your eyes as we'll start the session with a short prayer. So I'd request you to please close your eyes gently. Almighty God, thank you for the beauty and majesty we see in your creation. Thank you for the opportunity to take care for the world you have made. We ask that your blessings would rest on this team, that you would give us great vision and enthusiasm for our work. Please bless the efforts of our hands, the bonds between us, and the influence of our work in this location and beyond. Lord, as we plan and share together now, may you guide us by your Holy Spirit and lead us into all truth. Amen. You can open your eyes. Thank you so much. Now I'd request Father Principal, Dr. T. Nishant S.J. to kindly share his thoughts and explain the relevance of organizing these kinds of in-house faculty development programs. Over to you, Father.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Ma'am. It's great of you. And thanks for the prayer. Respected observer, Mr. Stan Lobo, the rector of our college, Father Joseph Tadavanale S.J., Father Martin Porras S.J., the vice principal, members of management, committed and loyal staff, and other participants through YouTube. I welcome you all to this new endeavor of ours. It's not totally new, but somewhat new because the resource persons mostly will be our own faculty members. And the purpose of having this kind of faculty development programs is to update ourselves in an area which may not be one's own specialization. It is also to broaden the horizon of our vision, of our knowledge. You know that you are part of the Jesuit culture, Jesuit world, and the word SJ, some people call it, instead of a Society of Jesus, they say Sab Janne Wala. Yes, J. Sab Janne Wala means who the Jesuit is supposed to know almost everything. A mini encyclopedia. The same way, all those who are associated with Jesuits also are invited and encouraged to broaden the knowledge, the vision, and be part of this great family. And therefore, we not only become specialized in one's own area, but we become familiar and we get interested in other areas too. So with that in keeping in mind, we have started this so-called in-house faculty development program. Another reason for this is to enhance your confidence in becoming a resource person. Chaudhary sir said he is going to be the resource person for the first time. And this is for the in-house. And slowly, I would want all of you to step out of this so-called in-house and become resource persons for other colleges and other institutions, other academic bodies. This is another reason why we have started this. As we have Mr. Stan Lobo with us as an observer, we will try to get an observer for all the faculty development programs. It may not be possible every time, but we'll try. Now, the resource person will receive a separate certificate of being the resource person. Each participant will receive an e-certificate of participation, but the resource person will receive a separate one, and that of being the resource person. I would like each one of you to be an active participant of this faculty development program, and you may be able to use this information or insights or knowledge which you get through these programs, faculty development programs, in your FM class, foundation mentoring class. And I believe this will also help us to develop critical thinking, which is very essential even in new.
You're not audible, Father. Your voice is not audible.
Perhaps you're not audible. We cannot hear you, Father. Mala ma'am, are you in the college?
In the college, sir. That is the reason
Yes.
I'm calling him. I'm calling principal.
Yes.
I'm calling.
Fine.
He's not picking up the phone.
I'm getting back. 1 minute.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not audible.
1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm sorry. This is the second time happening today, and it happened the other day when we had the commerce webinar also. I don't know. I have complained to the IT team. It's happening again. I'm very sorry for this disruption due to internet connectivity. So I have the
It has again interrupted.
Again, the same thing. He's not picking the phone. Maybe he knows why am I calling, so he'll be connecting himself.
Father has left. Perhaps Niharika ma'am wants to say something. She has raised her hand. I don't know.
Hello
Yes,
again. So if anything happens now, you please continue. Something wrong here this time. I just wanted to say that you also need to suggest the topics you would like to present. Please, that will be of great relief to me because I don't have to search for books and topics, but which you are interested in, not your own area of specialization, but something outside which is of great interest to you. It could be environment, it could be poetry, it could be spirituality, it could be religion, it could be anything. Kindly suggest. Otherwise, I'll have to do it for you. So that's what I wanted to say. Before getting another interruption, I would like to wish all the best to Chaudhary sir. And here he goes. He will get 30 minutes. And he'll be given a warning at after 25 minutes by Dr. Mala, and then we have a question and answer session. And after that, we have Mr. Stan Lobo giving us his feedback for 5 minutes, then vote of thanks and filling up of the form. That's it. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Father. Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom. Chaudhary sir, you can start now. The session is yours.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, thank you. So let me put it on the full screen mode. Yeah, so I will be delivering a lecture on the stored anger. This is based on a book authored by Thomas Menam Parampil, which I thought it was quite relevant, particularly in the current scenario, the way the world is going. So it is really very helpful to understand the contemporary world. So let us go through this. Now, how do these things appear to you? Say, drowning of Russian Metrojet plane killed 224 at Sinai. A bomb attack at Ankara. A suicide attack at Beirut, butchering 46 innocent people. A ghastly murder of 4 sisters of Mother Teresa and 12 of their helpers in Yemen. Istanbul Ataturk airport blast killed 44. A blast in a Dhaka restaurant killed 20 foreigners. Now these appear quite normal these days. Well, I mean, we simply get these news and just count the numbers. So this level of acceptance, does it suggest the hardening of human hearts? Have our hearts become so hard that these just become numbers for us? So the author of the book, The Stored Anger, says, in the immediate excitement of horror, we forget that every victim is an individual with his personal history, ideas, aspirations, dreams, and internal agonies, that he has a family whose future is thrown off the rail. Possibly an entire society felt inspired by him. We fail to hear the sighs, the sobs, the loud wailings of his dear ones left behind. With each killing, our own human sensitivity gets killed. We start looking this side or that side. Who was the victim? Who was the one who attacked? And then we start finding reasons. And at times, we also try to justify things. This is why this happened. This is why this should have happened. Okay, so instead of these human lives, these become a mere incidents for us. And at times, these things seem to redeem our own sentiments, our own feelings. Right? So do these killings become mere numbers to us? And why? Because anger provokes anger. In a concert hall in Paris on 13th November 2015, 127 people were killed by a young band of ISI suicide bombers called Eagles of Death. And how did the leadership respond? The French president, François Hollande, pledged, we shall be pitiless in dealing with this. See the word pitiless, right? Then the French leader, Marine Le Pen, responded, there is a cold anger in my heart. Now, beware of this cold anger, very dangerous. Okay, we are provoked to be merciless, and we are more than eager to turn merciless. We are really, we actually, there in some corner of the heart, that eagerness to be merciless, eagerness to bear that cold anger, that persists. So we are told to bear that cold anger, a buried explosive to put off when it serves the purpose. Mind it, the purpose has to be seen there. And why? Do we invite an unending chain of merciless responses? Okay, so the author says, intelligent and responsible thinking is the way ahead. We cannot simply write off this like one say event, one incident against someone, by someone, for someone. We have to have some intelligent thinking in this process. So the author says, our humble plea is that some intelligent thinking enters in some manner into our terrible dialogue between violence and counter-violence, revenge and counter-revenge, anger and counter-anger, if we wish to ensure a future for humanity. Remember, Gandhiji said, an eye for eye will turn the entire world blind. But are we really trapped into that chain of making each one of us blind? Acting on the crude anger, one is led to solution that will give rise to new problems. Violence invites violence. That is happening today. Everywhere, one reason, another reason, that reason becomes reason for the next one, and that reason will become another reason for the next violence. So history is replete with instances of violence and counter-violence. One after another, we have seen so many wars, so many events like this mishappenings like that. Those were caused by that rivalry, the violence and counter-violence. So where does it all end? Now, these are certain identities. Anger can appear in many garbs in these identities. See, the national loyalty, ethnic fidelity, religious fervors, racial superiority, caste-based hatred, regional supremacy. Now, all of us want to find ourselves somewhere in these identities. And these do not remain mere identities for long. These identities become matter of competition. Competition turns into rivalry, and the rivalry at times turned into enmity, and that enmity the world is facing everywhere today. One ethnicity against the another, one nationality against the other, one religious identity with the other against the other. So these identities are really killing the world. We have to see these identities have become the cause of most of the wars. Okay, so can one forget the fascist streak of all forms of vocal nationalism, the national pride, the sense of patriotism, the sense of bravery, the sense of valor, okay, the sense of equality, unity, togetherness among the rival groups before the 2 world wars. Each group was standing for their pride, their nationality. Okay, and what did we stand for? We stood for slaughter. Okay, it means genocide. Can you recall? Crores of people. You cannot imagine this precious life butchered in such a number. Crores of people on both sides got killed, and we got what? The Holocaust, and that those scars of those wounds of different identities, and that persists. So we have to see these rivalries are not going to result in any solution that you want to continue for long, right? So some more assertions. Nationalistic, religious, ethnic loyalties are misused. Now, can you see everywhere, one nation against the other, there is some reason to fight. One religion against the other, there is some reason to fight. One caste against the other, there is some reason to fight. Okay, and we have endless chain of reasons. Okay, and the instances of West Asia and some other emerging nations, everywhere we have this problem. Then lessons from the 2 world wars, that was nothing but the fight of identity. Okay, so in so-called correction of history, now see, this is very important for us to see. in so-called correction of history, future generations are ruined. Now, can you recall recently one church that was converted into library in Turkey was again converted back to mosque. So history was corrected. What happened? The ego of someone was hurt. When it was converted in from one to another, the ego is being converted again when it is being converted from another to back to something. Okay, I mean, you cannot forget the example that we are facing in our own country. One problem in the history, that history gets corrected, then this will become a history, this history will again be corrected. So where do you end? We are simply ruining our present generation in the name of past, the correction of history. Okay, so the war, and then another thing very important, the war has remained a thrilling theme in epic and history. Ashoka is not so much known as Alexander, as other warriors. Why? Because war has remained a theme of pride. We associate our countries with certain people who showed the valor, showed that bravery, who fought wars. Okay, everywhere in all parts of the world, in all epic, mostly you will find the story of wars and warriors and those monarchs. We have those what you call in our own country, different titles were given. Okay, you have the history of Rajsu Yagya, how many kings you defeated. Okay, then you have Chakravarti, Maharaja Dhiraj. So these are all the stories of wars, stories of valor that attract people, and somehow that legitimizes wars. Okay, then using violence to impose democracy has ended democracy everywhere. Can you recall Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and many parts of the Middle East? In the name of re-establishing democracy, the social bonds were thrashed. Those cultures were thrashed. Those togetherness was thrashed, and that became a battleground rather than a peaceful democratic nation. So this, in the pretension of establishing democracy through war has been exposed. Okay, human creativity quickly turns to arms production. Now, can you recall during the two world wars, those aeronautical industry was suddenly converted into the production of fighter planes. The automobile industry was suddenly turned into creation of tanks and armors. Okay, all those resources which could be used in peaceful purposes, for peaceful means, all these were converted into wars. We are so creative in production of arms, and you can have the example of USA, where the students are so fond, the kids are even so fond of arms, and you can hear of the incidences, the killings just for fun. Okay, those arms become the source of that fun. Okay, so that should be avoided, that should be controlled. Then the dirty arms trade creates war zones. Now this I will deal further also in the next slide, but you'll see this war is not simply a war. This is an economy. This is a source of huge profit. So the hurtful approaches and painful memories. Wronged and humiliated enemy grows stronger. Recall what happened when Germany was completely humiliated. Okay, in the name of peace treaty, its resources were plundered, its areas were distributed among the victors, and that hurt pride became the reason for the next war that devastated the whole world. Okay, and see one more very important thing you have to see here. The war was fought by those rich nations, and the worst sufferers were somewhere else. Africa became the battleground. Okay, Asia became the battleground, and then bombing and counter bombing of their own nations. Can you recall J.C. Mosley, the great scientist, being killed in a war? Can we lose a precious gem like that in this meaningless wars? Okay, so we have to be very cautious about such things. That humiliation will not result in peace anyway. Okay, Tal Hasmi in his book Global Jihad and America argues about Islamic resistance to American interferences and series of violent attacks. Very, very obvious all around us. Then renewing and aggravating colonial memories. You can see the Kashmiris, the Kurds, the Baluchis, the Palestinians, the Pashtuns, all joined that radical outfit in the name of past memories, those colonial memories or something done in the past that has radicalized entire areas. Okay, then youth bulge and unemployment combined leads to tension. Now see what happens. We are said to be the youngest nations, particularly most of the Asian countries. Okay, these are called the youngest nations, young nations. We have so huge population of youth that we call the population dividend, right? Now, this power, youth power, could be utilized to enhance the betterment of a country, to create those opportunities which will lead to the development of the region. Or the entire society should have been benefited. But what are we getting? We have huge unemployed numbers. And those are not mere numbers. These numbers are being used everywhere in the name of pride, so-called pride. So what that becomes? National pride and fight for that pride. Okay, that religious pride and then the fight for the pride. Now Asia, Africa, etc. were the traditional examples of this. Now, Europe and USA are facing the same situation. Okay, the huge unemployment they are facing, and that radicalization you can find in those countries also today. So, wars to end terrorism, strengthened terrorism everywhere. You can see first you invaded such countries which were facing the terrorism issues. And although these issues were created by the same attackers, those in the name of, say, you talk about Osama bin Laden, you talk about others, those were certain at times agents of working for their own interest. But when they became meaningless, okay, and you had left a huge amount of arms, okay, the militia was created. That militia was earlier used to serve the interest of those countries. Now when they became meaningless, when they became purposeless, they became the terrorists, and then in the name of strengthening democracy, you attack. So that terrorism continues even today. Okay, then the insensitive interventions have always created dormant tensions. So you intervene today, and that intervention will result in some other violent incidences later. So we have to take care of that. Does the state stand for brutalization? Now remember, and this may not be very palatable to many, but you have to understand that when you have those forces trained to kill, okay, so you create a situation in which those forces will be more efficient to kill. Okay, so they are given less time to sleep, okay, or a strict punishment or tight schedules, okay, and ultimately they turn into mere killing machines. You can see the example. A war veteran of Vietnam said, "I love it." Now beware of your army, beware of your forces. When they say, "I enjoy killing," then the killing does not need a purpose. When the killing cannot be enjoyed. And if you have created an institution that enjoys killing, then it is going to hurt in the long run, and the internal problems will also be caused. It will not be caused on other nations only. Okay, so beware of creating those killing machines. Then someone to courage in defense of one's nation. I mean, I hate to say Jai for a country, Jai for a religion. Whom are you going to defeat? Jai means what? Your Jai means defeat for someone, and Jai of other will be defeat for someone else. So what Jai? Are we really victor? And are we creating vanquished? So this courage for defense for the nation is somehow a source of that fanaticism. I mean, what you call in Hindi, that is called Andhrashtravad. Okay, it is not for the nation. It is just for the hate for someone that we encourage such sentiments. Okay, then the unemployed youths fall first victims. Everywhere in the world, whenever that hate business starts, the first to be trapped are the youth. Okay, then a very important aspect of this violence and hate. Okay, unfair structures invite violence. Now, see, this is very important to see. When you have that extreme inequality, you have a big portion of deprived masses. You have that when all those resources are being produced by the utilization of the same human resource, but they are deprived, they are not given the due share for their contribution. Okay. Now, can you imagine in our own country, this is as per the Oxfam inequality report, that 9 super rich households of our own country, okay, controls more than 50% of the bottom population, income worth 50% of the bottom population. Now, how do you justify this inequality? Okay, and that inequality, that deprivation may be used by someone else to incite them to engage in certain issues, and then they are engaging in such acts will be called terrorism. But what about that inequality that we are creating? Okay, then the workers' helplessness before stagnating wages, despite rapid increase in productivity. You can see, if you compare the last 50 years, in every field, the productivity has risen by multiple times. In comparison to that, the population did not increase that much. So the increased productivity should have been shared by the society, should have contributed to the betterment of the society. But instead, what did we do? We allowed that amassment of huge resources in favor of few. So we, under our constitutional framework, allowed the market to help a few people amass resources and create a huge amount of deprived masses. This is the true face of neoliberal capitalism today. Okay. All facilities are being withdrawn. Everything is left to the market. Your health, your education, your well-being, everything is left to the market. If you can purchase, you purchase it. Otherwise, you stay deprived. That is how this neoliberalism is going on today. Then the competition to possess more leads to violence. You can see this is what happened in all the wars. These wars were not just the pride of nations. These wars were the fight for the control of resources. As I told you, the wars were fought in Africa. The people fighting were from Europe and Japan. What were they doing? They were looking for the colonies that was controlled by the old colonialists. Okay, the new colonial powers were trying to grab a share of that, and that led to the huge war. Then all reasons of hostility have history of capitalistic plunder. everywhere. Once you start that plunder, the social fabric of that area will be shattered. The togetherness will be shattered.
Hello, Chaudhary sir.
Yes,
Chaudhary
ma'am.
sir, just a reminder, sir. Sorry to interrupt. You've got 5 minutes more to conclude, sir.
Okay, I will, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, so these inequalities, these capitalistic plunders have created the areas of deprivation. You have Somalia, you have Nigeria, you have all those deprived nations which were full of their own resources. Okay, then yes, then dialectics of capitalism, prosperity and devastation are interwoven. Once
Sir, you are been muted.
who muted me? Who muted me? No, I'm not muted. Hello? Am I audible?
Sir? Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yes, you are audible. You are audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay, I'm coming back. Okay, is it visible?
Sir, it's visible. It's
Okay.
visible.
So the prosperity and devastation are interwoven. Prosperity of one region was at the deprivation of the other region. Prosperity of few people was at the cost of big masses of the marginalized and deprived. Then capitalistic invasions and colonization created regions of conflict that is evident today. Okay, then trade and human values were opposed to each other. Okay, you see what we are taught: profit maximization, minimization of cost. So what cost do you minimize? You end up minimizing the labor cost. So this model tells us to deprive as many as people to maximize the profit for few. This model itself is the basis for deprivation. And that is being used, and that is in the worst form today in the shape of neoliberal capitalism. Then the social values and cultures of colonies were manipulated, that I dealt earlier. Then it created a mad race for individualism in place of social coexistence. Okay, everywhere the local cultures were devastated. Okay, that togetherness was ruined. Okay, and that created a mad race for more and more for few. Okay, then capitalistic crisis becomes fuel for rightist hateful agenda. This I'll deal little bit more. Okay, the war of control of petroleum and in the garb of war for democracy, everyone has the idea about it. Then for arms trade, war hysteria is essential. You do not have war zone, your arms will not be sold. So create a war zone so that your arms will be traded, because the arms trade gives easy, certain astronomical profit to the capitalists, kickback to the leaders, and brokerage to the dealers. Okay, so it keeps all the stakeholders interested. So why not engage in arms trade rather than wait for long years to grab that profit? Okay, so then resources needed for social development are exhausted in warmongering. Yeah, we are very proud of all the arms and ammunitions. Those are displayed on 15th August. But do you know that could have been the source of so much education to so many people? That could have been the source of healthcare for so many people. The old age benefit to so many people. Those are being withdrawn. Okay, so in the world, this war, the trade in the name of pride and war has become the source of deprivation. Okay, and profiteering by few. Okay, the new war zones and colonization of previous ones. We have been creating war zones one after the other. The unemployed youth, fictitious prides, stored anger, and political opportunism. These all come together these are the ideal fuels for the fascistic agenda. Okay, that was what happened in that growth of fascism in Germany and other parts, Nazi things, and then the same thing is the world is facing today. I mean, Europe, everywhere you have the radicalization. because we have a huge unemployed people. We have the fictitious prides. Our leaders will tell us all the time, this is our enemy, that is our enemy, he is our enemy, she is our enemy. So they are so apt at creating enemies. And then we are made to fight against each enemy so that then the myth of national pride and a strong leader. Right. When you need your development is very high, and Abraham Lincoln never claimed he's a strong leader. The leadership of today in America says he's a very strong leader because Abraham Lincoln was with the people. I will not say with whom I find the current leadership. Okay. Then the slogan of a strong leaders to fight against the perceived enemies. The enemies are created. And then you are told to fight against each enemy. So keep fighting against the enemies. Your real issues will be diverted all the time. The society in crisis easily accepts this hate mongering. Okay, the strong leader is apt at creating symbols of hate. No, you can count how many enemies you have all around and how many enemies you have to fight against, except your own poverty and lack of education and healthcare. Okay, so we today have a lot of enemies to fight against since we have few productive engagements. So what is the source of hate? Right. Now, I think the House can discuss these two questions. How do we deal with stored anger, which is a historical fact for which we are not directly responsible? Then second one, as educationists, how do we hold the present political and religious leaders accountable in spreading love instead of hatred? How shall we be agents for healing the scars caused by the stored anger? Okay, so that brings my presentation to an end. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaudhary sir, for talking about a topic that needs to be discussed. Thank you so much. Now the House is open for discussion. So please share the screen for questions. We'll like to have those questions.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll be having the discussion.
Can you see that?
A bit, you need to zoom a bit, sir.
Okay,
It's not
I'll
clearly
use it on the
visible.
full screen.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. So we'll be having the question answer session. We'll be giving 10 minutes for one particular question, and then we'll be moving into the other question. The first question, as you can see, it's visible on the screen. So I'd like the House to participate and give a feedback on whatever has been discussed. Your thoughts, please. The House is open to everybody. Thank you. Anybody would like to speak? How do we deal with stored anger, which is a historical fact for which we are not directly responsible? I can't see hands being raised. Yes, I can see one hand raised. Farhan Khalid, sir.
Yes,
Okay, sir. Yes, you can. You can.
Chaudhary sir, congratulations to you first of all, sir, for very well explaining all the aspects of store anger. One thing first, I want to give my point of view, not exactly related to the question. Sir, I was expecting that when we talk about store anger, so I was expecting that it was more of a personal level, that being an individual, what we feel about store anger. So it was rather in a broad concept. So I just want to have your point of view on this, for this.
Okay. So is it are we in a question answer session? So is do I need to answer this?
Actually, we were supposed to have a discussion, sir. Sir. We
Yeah.
were supposed to have a question answer session.
Yes.
You can give clarification in a very short manner.
Yeah. And I think Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. In my idea, that personal anger is also somehow related to our environment. we grow in our environment, and our habits and our behavior also are molded in that way. For example, if you are not taught hate, you will not spread hate, and in the family also that will not affect the members of the family, and that also degrades the honor of people in their mind. For them, that anger is what they stand for. So if you are against that anger, if you are not respecting so-called anger, then they will use that anger against you. So that creates your personal distortion also, the distortion of the personality also. That is my opinion, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mr. Rashid, sir, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir, and congratulations to you. So my question is to you that you have raised various points about the international trade and commerce. And somewhere you link the trade and commerce with the stored anger that I didn't get. And you mentioned one word, profit maximization. Sir, as far as I know, there is no such type of concept, profit maximization exists in today's world. I think people has just moved on and adopted the new maximization, that is wealth maximization. And another thing, that how can you relate the trade and commerce with the stored anger? What is the connection of trade and commerce with the stored anger? Sir, I just want that clarification on
Thank you, Rashid sir, for your question. What I said, the model of development is such that less and less people you need to participate in the production process. So because the resources belong to the whole society, but that is being used by few as per the policy of the state. So what happens when the marginalization happens, the dissatisfaction will also come, and that dissatisfaction can be used, as I told you in the earlier slide, that is used as a stored anger, that the leadership, the opportunists will use that anger, because that deprivation does give that dissatisfaction, and that dissatisfaction can be used by the vested interests. This is related to in this way. Thank you.
Okay, before giving it to Niharika ma'am, I'd like to say that we already have a question on the screen. So we need to talk about that question also. So kindly focus on that also. The question is, how do we deal with stored anger, which is a historical fact for which we are not directly responsible. Okay. Niharika ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Mala ma'am, and big congratulations, Chaudhary sir. Very nicely you handled this topic. You started with the past, that Rajasuya Yagya and Chakravarti Raja, how this this thinking process, this type of thinking is taking us for a war purpose and all that. Now dealing with this question as you raised here on your screen, sir, if I'll take it as a personal level, and the individual makes the society. So if this stored anger is coming due to a historical fact, as you rightly wrote there, that this for which we are not directly responsible, first of all, that should not be stored, sir. That anger should not be stored, and especially for those facts for which we are not directly responsible. And if you are taking it further and bringing it in our present, and if you think it is harming us, so it's my perception that the anger should not be stored. If it happened in the past, that is past, and the present should be peaceful, and we shouldn't bring this process. We should not go with this process, which is taking us in the path of war, or this type of what I should say, disturbance or misutilization of resources in the economy. This is my personal perception for this question, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And if you say if I'll continue, sir, the second one, as you wrote and you raised this question as educationalist. Okay, sorry, ma'am. we'll come it on later, right, ma'am?
We'll be coming to
Thank
the
you.
second
Thank
question. Okay.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
Niharika ma'am. Shadia ma'am, over to you. Unmute
Yes.
yourself and ask the question.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. First of all, Chaudhary sir, congratulations to you. I really like the topic that you picked up and the way you linked it with the historical facts as to how it is affecting our day-to-day life now. So, as per my opinion, to the question is how we need to deal with it. I hold to the opinion that you cannot change the past, right? So, when you're not able to change the past, you should not let it affect you. So the historical facts cannot be changed. On the contrary, you can make it more productive by acting as a responsible parent or a responsible citizen and educating the youth in rather than resolving their anger than rather than storing that anger with them. So it can be resolved in a productive manner by venting their anger in something productive or by giving them knowledge as to what has happened and so that they can decide as to what was right course of action and what was the wrong course of action. Right? So they do not need to store that anger, but rather resolve that anger. So that would be my opinion. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sadia ma'am. Now it's Joel sir's turn. Sir, please ask your question.
Good afternoon. This is actually not a question, but rather, I would like to go further with the point number one.
1 minute. Joel sir, Mala ma'am.
Yes, father.
Madam, no, not much of questions, discussion. That means
yes, that is what I had pointed out, father. But they have started asking questions. Your thoughts on this, sir? Your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'm putting forward my thoughts regarding the first topic. Like when we talk about stored anger, my feeling is like anger. When a person becomes angry, it is basically because things are not happening his or her own way. That is why a person becomes angry. And when a person becomes very angry, it gets stored. The only way by which I think this kind of anger could be could be nullified is when we can teach rationality, and that could be through only holistic educational processes. This is what I feel. The other thing that we could talk about is whether stored anger is better or peaceful hatred. Thank you, ma'am.
So much, Joel sir. Thank you. Then we have Rakesh Kumar Pathak sir. Your thoughts on this question, sir?
Chaudhary sir, am I audible to you?
Yeah, quite. Yes, sir.
Sir, the kind of world you are suggesting that we should be having, but we have countries like vulnerable countries like North Korea, we had Germany, West Germany for that matter. So even if people are peaceful and leaders are peaceful, but there are other countries who are kind of instigators and they are disturbing the global peace and balance. So how do you deal with that?
Actually, I mean, if it is a question, then I talked about that only, because this development model itself favors the plundering of resources in the other areas, and when you do not have that reason to plunder directly, then you take the pretense of so-called democracy, you attack a country, and then the real thing is something else. So this is a geopolitical condition, sir. I mean, this can be dealt only at the level of economic development model or geopolitical level. Individuals are really helpless in this. You have to teach sense, so that the opinion becomes stronger in favor of peace rather than in the opinion in favor of wars and hate. That is what I can understand.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Your screen is not visible, sir. The question is not
I'm
visible.
coming back to my screen. Actually,
yes.
I wanted to see who were there. Okay, yeah, is it visible now?
Okay. Yes, it's visible now. Thank you so much. Piyush Sahai, sir, kindly focus on the question that is visible on the screen. Thank you.
Yes, sir and ma'am. I think my point of view is history and past is not a place to be. History can give you direction, but what stored anger I mean that we are taking so much of negatives from history and we are storing those angers. So for me, that is not to be taken. And if we need to resolve it, we need to understand the direction. And we all know the historians, they have manipulated, like India Pakistan separation. We were not there. We read the articles, we read the newsletters and other books, and then we realized, and it's like in this generation also, we hate Pakistan. It's in our blood, we hate Pakistan, right? Similarly, we hate other religions based on the practices of the society. So my thought would be yes, we need to understand that hate is being marketed, and this is being marketed by political parties, by the countries, maybe by the religious communities. So we should not be a part of those hate management, hate marketing. Rather, we should focus on supporting peace and being in that, living that environment, right? Uh, I remember one quote by Mother Teresa that India में अगर आप आतंक का विरोध करते हैं you will get so many supporters, but India में if you are doing शांति का समर्थन, if you are supporting peace, you'll hardly get anyone. And this is being played very nicely by the political parties, and this we need to understand as a young nation. We need to understand that that history is not a place to be. That is my observation, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice, sir. And that marketing of hate was the term that was very nicely used. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Piyush Sahai, sir. We have, I think, the last hand raised I can see is Alok Baran, sir. Alok Baran, sir, over
Yes,
to
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Congratulations, Vidya, sir. No, so my opinion, see what Piyush sir has said, I will go to that point only. Past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. That what I believe. And history as a subject, if we see, it gives us a guidance not to repeat our mistake, but we should learn from the mistakes also, and it shows us the path that what will be the right direction to follow in future. So, and there are various situations which we can't control. For example, I can tell you in India only about the article of 370. In global scenario, we can say South China Sea. These things are not in our control. So anger, yes, it can be utilized in some positive way, but we can't go for the negative aspect of this stored anger. We should utilize it in a positive way. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. We have the second. Yes, Father. Yes, Father.
I think our time is running out.
Yes,
I have a
Father.
suggestion to make that
Okay.
we stop here. The
Okay.
second question, I would request all of you to write a paragraph and send it to Alok Mohit sir, who is the editor of our magazine, college magazine, Xaverian Waves, because I would like, if you go on with the discussion, it will take another 15-20 minutes, and I would like to hear from Mr. Stan Lobo, and then we have vote of thanks, and we have fixed time, so we should not go beyond the time. Is that
Okay,
okay?
Father.
Is there anybody else?
Yes.
Anybody who has got? Is that okay?
Yes. It's okay.
Is
It's
there
okay.
anybody who would like to?
Yes,
Who has
Father.
got a strong disagreement? Because otherwise it will go on. And it's good that we have a good discussion, question, answer, and so on. But I think it's getting time. So shall we do this way? Write a short paragraph as your opinion on the second question and send to Alok Mohit sir, and we'll collate them and have it in our college magazine. This is a topic which is relevant to all. Is that okay?
Yes,
I suppose it's okay. So we go ahead, and Malama, please request Mr.
Yes.
Stan Lobo to
Okay.
express his opinion.
Okay. Thank you so much, Father. Thank you, Chaudhary sir. Now I'd request Mr. Stan Lobo to please share his thoughts and give us a feedback about this session as to how the session was conducted. Please guide us, sir. Thank you so much. Stan Lobo, sir, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sanjayas, for inviting me. Can you hear me clearly, or is the voice breaking?
It's audible, but a bit you need to. It's not very clear, sir, but it's audible.
Audible. Okay. My problem is I have not been able to hear any of you fully because it's breaking all the time. But I hope I am being heard correctly. If not, I would like to send a paragraph. Yes. You can hear me clearly?
Yeah, 1 second, Stan. Chaudhary sir, can you stop presenting? Your screen is still there. that we can see one another. Yeah, thank you, Chaudhary sir.
Okay.
Go ahead. We can see you very well now, Stan.
Yeah, okay. I hope all of you can hear me.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
There are two parts to this which I'm going to speak about. Exactly 5 minutes I'll take. It's exactly 3:59. Someone stopped me at 4:4. Now, two parts to it. What the madam told me to give my feedback on the session. That's part number two. Part number one, I just want to throw a few thoughts from my side for whatever that is worth. Is that the book is about the world, what is happening in the world. Okay, it's a good starting point, a good reference point. But I think the learning is what is within my power that I can do to deal with this stored anger. I remember, if I can recollect, one Madam Shadia, I think she said it rightly, that said to what I was thinking is that each one of us is a house of stored anger. Each one of us. It's not about the world. It's not about the neighbor. It's not about India. It's not about Pakistan. I myself find myself as a house of anger. I don't know how many of us recognize that aspect. And that too, it is not when I get angry. It is a continuous 24-hour process when my body and my mind is fighting. And this exactly is what the book is trying to say, whereas it is not brought out. But the point is that each one of us is a stored anger, house of stored anger, all the time, which is affecting relationships, which is affecting our family life, which is affecting our neighborhood, which is affecting our community, and then the society, and then the nation. The basis of this stored anger is individuals like you and me. And where do I have the most control to manage this? It's not with prime ministers, political leaders, it's with me. So it is a very diverse tactics that we use to speak about the world, about Germany and Pakistan, or any other country, or China. It's a very diverse tactic. All of us employ. And all of us sit with the paper early morning, speaking about the world, what's happening in the world. But do I speak about what's happening in my family? How much anger is being stored in each member of the family? And how much anger in me is being stored? And those are the questions I throw to St. Xavier's, the faculty, to look at that. I am not responsible for what happened in the past, but I am responsible what's happening to me now. And it's time that if we want to change the world, we have to change ourselves. Stan Lobo has to change himself. That is number one. So anger is a personal responsibility. I think Shadia said that. And self is the instrument for change. Blaming the world, blaming the neighbor, blaming India, blaming Pakistan is a complete diversionary tactics all of us employ throughout our life without ever realizing how much anger I am omitting in my environment, in my family, among my students, among my colleagues in the college. I was there myself 2 years back, if I remember. And I remember how much anger is within the faculty premises. Where is that gone? That is a question we need to ask. So forget the faculty. What about me, myself? So I'm looking at, I remember when I was diagnosed with a heart problem, a second time that I went for my stent. And the doctor had asked me, is there any anger that you are holding against anyone? And is that the reason this is reoccurring again and again? And I think he said the right thing. And then my eyes opened and I realized I had so much anger against people in my own family, which I had to resolve, I had to work on. And that's how that entire cloth that I had got cleared. So my dear friends, the change starts with me. It's not with the world, not with the leaders, not with Father Principal, or not with the departmental head, not with the college. Change starts with me. Can I, in my environment, look at the number one, triggers of anger? What triggers my anger? Is it people who trigger my anger? Is it a particular individual triggers my anger? Because he is from south, or because he is from north, or because he is looking black, or because he belongs to a particular society? Or is the anger triggering out of injustice I feel people are doing to me, my own insecurity? Or is it because of memories, traumatic events in the past? What is that triggers? So I request each one of us to really reflect on this. What is triggering my stored anger? What is that? A few thoughts I can share with you before I close. Sorry, I have exceeded my time, but the point is, I think a few thoughts. Look at how my ego, my self-image, causing problems. I want to be in such an others welcome, others are thinking differently, so they are my enemies. So can we look at ourselves? I just want to close with these words. My personal responsibility, anger is caused by me only, towards myself, on to my neighbor, my family, and others. Can I take charge of myself? So just a few questions for us, since we are talking at a job bank, we are looking at reflection, time for reflection. And each one of us is from facing ourselves. Easy to face the country and the neighbor, ourselves, difficult thing. Just a conference on the this one, just for 2 minutes. I used to say that probably, not probably, this is a very good idea to have each faculty present a book. But I think the way I feel a club that I is that you present the facts of the book along with your personal reflections and questions. So instead of completely, book has written right or wrong, doesn't matter. But how did it be and my life thinking? I think that could be one inclusion. Instead of speaking about the content, historical, which is someone's point of view who wrote in England or Germany, I don't know where he wrote from. The point is that as a point, I am focused on the book. So thank you very much, Father, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Sanjay. Back and nice to listen to you all. I can recollect so many names here, and thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Stan, for your feedback. Yeah, over to you, Dr. Mala.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Father. With this, we come to the end of this in-house faculty development program, where the in-house faculty member became a resource person. A special thanks to Mr. Stan Lobo for sparing a few minutes from his busy schedule and sharing his words of wisdom with us. Thank you so much, sir. I would also like to thank Father Dr. T. Nishant S.J., the principal of this college, for thinking about giving an opportunity where we could move out from our comfort zone and discuss or talk about a topic that is new to us. A special thanks to Mr. B.N. Chaudhary, sir, for handling the session, carrying out the session so well, and talking about a topic that needs discussion. I would also like to thank my fellow colleagues and the professors who were a part of this faculty development program. At last, I would also like to thank the IT team, especially Mr. Mukesh Kumar for organizing this meeting, and Mr. Piyush Sahai, sir, for creating the feedback link. Thank you, Jai Xavier's. Before we move, before we move, the feedback link will be given to you that has to be filled in and submitted within 15 minutes itself. And immediately you'll be getting your e-certificate also. Anything else that you'd like to say, Father?
Can I get a minute to speak? Just 1 minute.
Oh, may I, Father?
Yeah.
Okay, Chaudhary, sir, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I believe this is truly a faculty development program. I do not know how much benefit the audience had, but as a resource person, I felt I could focus on my ways of doing things. And I am very sure this opportunity is repeated in future. That will help the faculty members a lot. From Mr. Stan Lobo, I was expecting a few comments on the way the things were conducted, but he only focused on the anger fine. But I wanted a few comments on how the session was conducted. That would have been a learning thing. And thank you, Father, so much for trusting me for handling this session. Thank you so much.
I trust you all, not only you, I trust you all, and that's why we have begun this. But Mr. Stan Lobo gave us feedback. If you heard, he mentioned that along with the presenting the content, one's own reflection can be there. That's a comment which he made about the methodology of our presentation, which we can implement in our coming sessions.
Sure,
so good.
Sure.
Nirja ma'am has something to say, very important.
Yes, Father.
Is there anything very important, Nirja ma'am?
Father, just that if Chaudhary sir could send us that question, the second question on which we have to give the
Okay.
Okay.
So I will put it on the faculty group.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Just a reminder.
Before we wind up, I want to thank Dr. Mala, our Dean of Academics, for being the moderator of this session. I have told her she can conduct it in the coming sessions, or she can also delegate it to somebody else. Others also may get a chance to be a moderator, which is not very easy. And so it's up to her, but she is responsible for organizing, holding such faculty development programs. One more person to thank is Syed sir, who did the YouTube linking, which I know Dr. Mala is not aware of, and also Piyush Verma, who has helped us in all this Microsoft Teams. Okay. So over to them also. Thank you, Dr. Mala. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father. The feedback link is in the chat box itself. I think it's there. So you can just open, click, and feed the form.